Today guys, I am going over 10 positioning tips that you can use in any game. These 10 tips I see even face level 10s are getting wrong. If you pay attention to all 10, you will definitely see a big improvement in your games. I am Monty, let's get into it. Okay guys, starting off with tip number 1, abuse off angles. So the most usual thing that I see is they're holding the most basic positions that you can for every single site, for every single play. Basically, when you're holding a site on a rush, you usually like stand behind default here, holding towards ramp. Or you stand behind triple. It's a good position, which is why it's the most played position. But then again, people are going to be expecting you. When the T's are pushing out from ramp, they're going to be pre-aiming this and just pre-fire you. So what you want to do instead, you can play here in this corner, holding ramp. When we're pushing out, we clear triple, we clear back default, maybe firebox here. We're not looking here. So this is one off angle. Another off angle that you can take is the one by the door here, this big as door. Stand in the middle of the door and just look towards ramp. They will be checking default, triple, firebox, but then he's here. And this will definitely catch the T's off guard. Whenever I play this position, guaranteeing at least one kill. And then when you get one kill, you can just push back behind default and hide for the second kill. Now for tip number 2, talking about off angles, let's go into the other axis of this, which is elevation. Now the most common thing in pre-aiming and cross replacement is obviously the head height. Aiming for head all the time because we all like getting head the shot, yeah. So make sure that you change up the elevation if possible. For example, this position right here is very open, so you have to be careful using it. But if you are standing here, holding ramp basically, this is a big elevation shift for the ramp play pushing out. So if we look at it from ramp, we're looking stairs, right? And then we're going out to check triple. And the bot is going to be up here. Most people will just flick to the side and it's going to be body shots. You have a big advantage just aiming for the head here. Now it doesn't have to be this dramatic because this is a very high position. It can be just very subtle. For example, standing up on this ledge here instead of down here is an elevation change. Talking about elevation, it's also the most common thing that people don't practice. When you're aim training, you don't usually train flicking up and down. You usually train flicking left to right. So abusing elevation is definitely a big play in Counter-Strike. Now let's go over to tip number 3, which is staying mobile and moving a lot. As you have probably seen on Donk's gameplay, even Monesi, even Kyosuke, all of them are moving a lot. Donk basically, he stays mobile. He moves around a lot and makes sure that he's everywhere. The key point in this is basically move around the map. If you're taking a fight towards ramp by triple, move after taking one fight. Because what will happen is when you take one fight, the enemy team now knows that you are triple. So the enemy that you were fighting, he's going to call out to his team one triple. But if you directly after taking this fight, you move maybe to default, then they're going to be pre-aiming the wrong thing and you catch them off guard again. And also the most important part for oppers. So all you oppers out there, pay attention. When you fire a shot, change your position. It's pretty much the same thing as when you're holding one position, for example, at triple. The enemy team is going to call out that there's an op in mid, which is usually the position you play. And that makes it so that they're going to be either avoiding you or they're going to be smoking you off and wasting utility. So either you change position and catch them off guard, or you get smoked off or mollied. So change position. If you're playing window, coordinate with your teammate that you're running connector or that you're running A. You can hold palace instead. You can peek towards ramp. Basically just don't stay in the same position, and it's going to make it so that the enemy team can never catch you. Now you can even see this playstyle in Monesi or Molodoi or whoever you're watching. All of them are basically just running around with the op, making sure that they never get caught by the enemy team or that the enemy team never have their position locked down completely. Going over to tip number 5, which is adjust your playstyle according to the round. For example, let's say the enemy team has just lost a round and they're definitely going to be on an eco round now. That means they're going to be on pistols, maybe trying to rush something, or basically just play into their pistol, which is just close fights again and again. So what you want to do is basically take the ranged fight. Since you have rifles and the enemy team has pistols, maybe don't stand directly beneath car. You can jump spot when you see someone, run to backside and hold apps instead. What will happen is their Tech 9s, their P250s or whatever, they're not going to be as effective. While your rifle is, of course, always effective. This gives you the advantage and it gives the team the disadvantage even when they're trying to play into their strength with the pistols. I see this way too often where the team is anti-eco and they just lose the round because of simple mistakes like playing close quarters when the enemy team has full pistols. It makes no sense and it's just gonna lose you the round. Now the same thing goes the other way around. If you have an eco round and you have pistols, try to do the same thing. Basically try to play close quarters, try to get close range fights, try to make sure you never stop running basically. Because if you have a pistol, you're mostly accurate when running, and enemy team is just gonna have a hard time hitting you when you are running around all the time. Going over to tip number 6, which is gather information. Now let's say that the round has started and it's been 30 seconds. You haven't seen anything in apps. You haven't heard anything towards A, you haven't heard anything towards mid. Probably the enemy team are executing on some site, or they're just trying to play slow bait out your utility. What you want to do is basically try to push and gather information. What I would advise is basically that B player could push apps, just peek quickly, try to get information. It's always a good idea. Push apps either way. If they're not rushing B, they're probably going A or mid. So what you can do is basically just take control of apps, and this will give you the information way earlier if the enemies are pushing in B apps. Now the important part here is to not push recklessly. If you are just pushing apps every single round, now the enemy team is gonna take advantage of that and just get an entry onto B and push B. So what you want to do is just be careful, maybe push with a teammate if you want to gather information. The usual thing is also to push up mid, so you can have your short player, maybe your window player, push up mid together, clear it out completely, giving you the information that mid is clear. Then you can push down towards apps, T-apps and T-spawn. You can clear spawn or apps. And when you have cleared apps or T-spawn or whatever you're clearing, it's going to give you and your team way more information about the round that is being played. Now a little bonus tip. So what I see a lot from people is they have been watching too much Donk and Kyosuke and they think they are them. What happens is they're doing this jiggle peek thing. Now what Donk and Kyosuke is doing is they're peeking this, but they're also counterstrafing, because this is like pre-firing, okay? Basically, if an enemy is on this angle and you're just doing this back and forth, you're not going to be stopping when the enemy is there. You're going to go back behind cover, and the enemy is going to know you're here, and then you think you're fast or you're Donk, and you peek out again, and then you get insta headshot. So if you're doing this juggle peek, you need to be counter-strafing on the angle and making sure that your crosshair is actually in the right spot. So I don't want to see this, where you're stopping with the crosshair on the wall, and I don't want to see this, right? Because you're not going to be accurate and you're not going to be shooting in time for killing the enemy. Now you might also see Kyosuke or Donk or any top player basically doing this where they're AD spamming, right? When holding angles. Usually when they have an MP9 or pistol or whatever, they're not going to be doing this usually with rifles because they're going to be running like madmen. But what this does is it makes you a bit harder to hit, but you're also fully accurate while moving like this. As you see, all the bullets going in the same place. So you're fully accurate when AD spamming, which is good to know. You can also do it while spraying, but it also makes your aim a bit inconsistent because you're always moving. Now, another tip that is not really positioning, but it is part of it. If you have a plan for the round, let's say you're planning for an A split and you have smoked window, you have smoked short, and you have taken control of mid basically. Now, what you want to do is push connector, actually push it and clear and go up towards A, helping, playing with your team, right? What usually happens though is that you have window smoked, you have short smoked, you've taken control of mid, and then you're waiting for the CT to push, right? You're waiting for this peak. You're sitting here. What happens then is that your teammate has to hold window because you're sitting there. Your other teammate has to hold short. So now you're 3 players stuck in mid holding angles instead of just going up connector when window and short was smoked. So what you want to do is actually just commit to a play, make sure that you're executing it correctly, and actually playing with your team. While a round like that may work, where you're standing and holding mid, waiting for them to peak, usually it will end with the CTs just ganging up on you in mid and killing you easily. But what will happen when you push connector fast with your other teammates who are pushing ramp or palace is that the A players are gonna panic and they're gonna be screaming A, or they're not going to be screaming at all because they don't have microphones turned on. It's going to cause chaos, basically. Because the enemy team is not going to react to your play because you're playing it too fast for them, and you're going to win the round for free. Now, for tip number 8. Stay alive. Huh? It's a very basic thing, but you need to stay alive. So when it comes to holding B site or holding A site on whatever map you're playing, it's basically that when you see the T's pushing, either you can get one quick frag if you're holding like the push here, and then you back off. You either smoke here so that the T's have a harder time killing you, so they have to push here or they have to push here. Both these angles, your short player is going to be able to help you. Or you can actually back up even more and go into market. This gives your teammates the opportunity to actually rotate, and then you can retake the site together instead of just fully defending the site. Because actually fully defending a site is very, very low percentage that you do, because you have 4, maybe 5 terrorists running at you and you're trying to kill them 2v5. Now it can happen, of course, but it's almost always better to back off, kill 1 or 2 terrorists, and let your teammates rotate in and retake the site together. Okay, going over to tip number 9, which is gonna be always have an exit. What I mean by that is if you're holding an angle like this, and let's say 1T pushes up, right? You can easily kill him because you catch him off guard by holding this angle. But let's say this guy has 2 or 3 teammates behind him. Are you gonna kill 3 terrorists that are pushing you, knowing your exact position? Probably not. So what you should do is hold angles where you have a chance to exit. So if you hold this angle, you get 1 kill pushing up into apps. You can easily exit out this window without any issues. Or let's say you're holding from this van. You can easily get 1 kill, back off, throw a Molotov or a nade, and you can be ready for the next guy. Because what usually happens is someone is holding an angle and they don't even think about what if there's 2 enemies pushing me instead of 1 or 3. Then you're just dead and you're going to be trading 1 for 1 instead of getting the 4v5 that you should get. So basically, always have an exit plan for when you're holding angles. Going over to tip number 10, give the enemy space. What I mean by this is you don't have to challenge the terrorists directly in apps. You can just give them the space off apps and then play from B site instead, where you can have more angles, or you can have more teammates helping you hold the angles. This will basically allow you to have more support from your teammates. It will allow you to have the chance to use utility. It will allow you to catch more of the terrorists off guard. Basically, it just gives you a way bigger chance of winning the round. We can go over the same sort of thinking on A site. Here, we can definitely hold ramp here, but we can also give up ramp. We can give them this area right here. Now they're going to be playing from Tetris. Now they're going to be playing from ramp. They're going to try to molly you on default. They're going to try to molly shadow. They're going to have to clear out everything on site. But what this gives you guys on the CT side is that it gives you the opportunity to rotate. It gives you the opportunity to use more utility from your teammates. It gives you way more opportunities by giving the terrorists more time because you give yourself more time. Now this also gives you more angles to block the terrorist push by having your teammate coming from jungle, by having your teammate coming from connector, by having your teammate coming from CT. It's gonna give you way more angles to fight the terrorists instead of just being a solo defender against 5 terrorists. Alright guys, that are the 10 tips that I had for this video. If you learned something, please leave a like and comment below which tip you found the most helpful. And I will see you in the next video.